In the heart of Enugu, the coal city where the earth still whispers stories of black gold beneath its red soil, Ezen Adizo Keke was born on a bright morning in March 1995. The Harmattan wind was gentle that day, carrying the scent of blooming flowers from her mother's carefully tended garden. Her arrival was celebrated with joy. Chief Emeka Okeke, her father, slaughtered 2 goats and shared palm wine with the entire neighborhood. A daughter at last, he announced proudly, for after 3 strong sons, Chikwudi, Ifani, and Onyeka, Ezen completed the family like the final bead on a coral necklace. The Okeke family lived in a sprawling compound on Independence Layout, one of the most prestigious areas in the city. Their house was a 2-story mansion painted cream and brown, with tall gates guarded by a uniformed myguard named Musa. Inside, marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers imported from Italy. There was constant electricity from a massive generator that roared softly in the backyard, powering air conditioners even during NEPA blackouts. The compound had everything: a boys' quarters for the driver and housekeeper, a poultry at the back where chickens clucked happily, and a large mango tree whose shade provided the perfect spot for family gatherings. Chief Emeka's wealth came from his textile empire. He owned 3 large shops in Ogbete Main Market and supplied fabrics to traders across the southeast. Swiss voile, Guinea brocade, high-quality Ankara. He imported containers directly from Dubai and China. Politicians' wives and brides-to-be flocked to his shops for the latest designs. Okeke fabrics not the best, people would say. His success allowed him to join the prestigious Enugu Sports Club, where he played golf on weekends and networked with other big men. Mama Grace, Ezen's mother, was the quiet strength behind it all. A devout Catholic with a voice like an angel, she sang in the church choir every Sunday at Holy Ghost Cathedral. She ran her own catering business, Grace Events, famous for serving the best jollof rice and pounded yam at weddings, burials, and chieftaincy titles. Her kitchen was always busy, women pounding yam in giant mortars, frying plantain in deep pots of oil, the air thick with the aroma of pepper soup and spices. Ezen grew up surrounded by love and abundance. As the only girl and the youngest, she was everyone's favorite. Her brothers doted on her. Chikwudi, the eldest, studying engineering in UNN, would bring her biscuits from school. Ifani taught her how to ride a bicycle. Onyeka, closest to her in age, shared his comics and defended her from bullies. Her father called her Ada M., his precious daughter, and bought her whatever she pointed at in ShopRite. Her mother dressed her in matching lace outfits for church, complete with coral beads and gold earrings. From a young age, Ezen showed brilliance. At 5, she was already reading newspapers aloud to the housekeeper. She attended the best schools, first Tenderfeet Academy, then University Primary School, and later Federal Government Girls College for secondary. Teachers marveled at her intelligence. She won spelling bee competitions, recited Chinua Achebe's poems flawlessly at cultural days, and always emerged as the top student. "This girl will be a lawyer," her father declared proudly. "She will argue cases in Abuja and make us proud." Ezen's childhood was filled with beautiful memories. Christmas in the village with grandparents, where she danced to Ekwe drums and ate ukwa with roasted yam. Easter picnics at Ingwo Pine Forest, where the family spread mats under pine trees and ate mama's fried rice. Holidays at Obudu Cattle Ranch, riding horses and swimming in cool streams. She had birthday parties with 3-tier cakes from Crunchies, bouncy castles, and all her classmates invited. She was beautiful too, tall for her age, with skin like fresh palm oil, long natural hair that her mother braided into intricate styles, and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. People said she looked like her mother in her youth. Boys in school wrote her love letters from JS1, but Ezen was focused. "I want to make first class in law," she'd tell her friends. No time for boys yet. Life seemed perfect, a straight path of success and happiness stretching ahead like the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway. Ezen had no idea that beneath this golden surface, cracks would soon appear, cracks that would change everything. For now, she was simply the golden girl of Enugu, beloved, privileged, and full of dreams. The world was hers to conquer. First love. Ezen was 17 when love found her, in the most ordinary of places, a crowded jam coaching center on Okpara Avenue. The year was 2012, and the classroom was stuffy with the smell of chalk dust and teenage anxiety. Fans spun lazily overhead, doing little against the Enugu heat. Students bent over past questions, muttering formulas and dates under their breath. Ezen sat in the second row, her notebook neat, her pen flying across the page as the tutor explained quadratic equations. That was when she first noticed him, Chinedu Ease, 2 seats behind her on the right. He was tall, even while seated, with broad shoulders that strained against his school shirt. His skin was the deep, rich ebony that made people say "fine boy" without hesitation. But it was his smile that caught her, wide, warm, and a little mischievous, flashing white teeth whenever the tutor cracked a joke. He had a habit of running his hand over his low-cut hair when he was thinking, and Ezen found herself glancing back more often than she should. They started talking during break time. Ezen had gone outside to buy fan yogo from the vendor at the gate, and Chinedu followed. "You sabi this physics well, oh," he said, falling into step beside her. "I saw the way you were answering questions. Beg, borrow me your notes small." She laughed, handing him the frozen yogurt instead of her book. "First buy me another one, then we'll talk about notes." That was the beginning. His full name was Chinedu Kenechukwu Ease. His father was a senior lecturer in political science at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and his mother sold provisions in a big shop near Ogbeat Market. They lived in Yawani, not as wealthy as the Okekes, but comfortable, generator, DSTV, 2 cars. Chinedu was in his final year at government secondary school, aiming for engineering. He was brilliant, but not arrogant about it. He played football for his school team, and on weekends he helped coach younger boys at the local field. Soon, they were inseparable at the lessons. They shared a desk, passed notes under the table, argued playfully about who would score higher in the mock exam. After class, they walked part of the way home together, even if it meant Chinedu taking a longer route. He started calling her on her Nokia Torchlight phone every night, long conversations about everything and nothing. They talked about their dreams, her becoming a lawyer, him building bridges and skyscrapers. They laughed about teachers, gossiped about classmates, and slowly, carefully, began to speak of feelings. One evening, after a particularly tough chemistry class, Chinedu waited for her outside the gate. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange over the hills. "Ezen," he said, suddenly serious, "I like you. Not just as lesson mate. I really, really like you." Her heart pounded so loud she was sure he could hear it. She had never had a boyfriend before, only crushes from afar. But this felt different. Real. "I like you too," she whispered, looking down at her sandals. From that day, they were official. Chinedu was the perfect first boyfriend. He wrote her letters on scented paper, folding them into tiny squares and slipping them into her textbook. He saved his pocket money to buy her recharge cards, suya wrapped in old newspaper, or a cold bottle of Coke after class. On Valentine's Day, he surprised her with a single red rose and a card that said, "To my Ada, forever in my heart." He called her pet names, Nnem, O Malika, my queen. They held hands under the desk, shared earphones to listen to Flavor's NWA Baby or Wizkid's early songs. He walked her all the way home sometimes, even when it made him late. Her mother noticed the glow on her face and teased, "This girl, who is putting smile on your face like this?" But Ezen kept it secret. Good girls didn't have boyfriends openly in SS3. As UTME approached, the pressure increased, but so did their bond. They studied together at the public library on weekends, heads bent over the same book, knees touching under the table. Chinedu would quiz her on government objectives, and when she got them right, he'd reward her with a quick kiss on the cheek when no one was looking. One Saturday, after a long study session, it rained heavily. The kind of Enugu rain that turned roads into rivers. Chinedu's friend, Emeka, who lived nearby, offered his empty family flat for them to wait out the storm. The parents were away at a wedding in Onitsha. Emeka left them with a grin and a warning, "Behave-o." They sat on the couch, wet from the dash through the rain, laughing at how soaked they were. Chinedu draped his jacket over her shoulders. The room was quiet except for the rain drumming on the zinc roof. He looked at her, really looked, and said, "Ezen, I love you. I want us to be together always. University, NYSC, marriage, everything." She believed him. With every fiber of her 17-year-old heart, she believed him. They kissed, slowly at first, then deeper. Clothes came off in hesitant, trembling movements. It was awkward, tender, painful, and beautiful all at once. Ezen cried a little afterward, not from regret, but from the overwhelming feeling of giving herself completely to someone she trusted so deeply. Chinidu held her close, whispering promises into her hair. "I'll never leave you. You're my wife already in my heart." For weeks after, they were closer than ever, planning futures, attending UNN together, her in law, him in civil engineering. Traditional marriage in the village, white wedding in the cathedral. Children, 2 boys and a girl. A house in Independence layout, not far from her parents. Ezen walked with a secret glow. She felt mature, chosen, loved. She imagined telling her mother one day, after university admission, and watching her parents welcome Chinidu with open arms. Everything seemed eternal. She had no idea how quickly forever could end. The heartbreak. It was a Tuesday afternoon in July 2012, the kind of day when the Enugu sky hung low and gray, threatening rain but never quite delivering. Ezen had just finished her jam lesson and was walking home along Zik Avenue, her school bag heavy with textbooks, her mind light with thoughts of Chinidu. They had made plans for the weekend. He promised to take her to Mama Ngozi's buka for her favorite akpa, and then to the cinema at Polo Park to see some new Nollywood romance. She smiled to herself as she replayed his last text message. "Can't wait to see my queen on Saturday, Red Heart." When her phone rang, she answered immediately, expecting his voice. "Hello, baby," she said playfully. But the voice on the other end was strangely flat. "Ezen," Chinidu said. No NNEM, no laughter, no warmth. Just her name. Her steps slowed. "Chinidu, what's wrong? You sound different." There was a long pause. She could hear traffic in the background, Okada engines, horns blaring. He was probably near his house in Yawani. "Ezen," he repeated, "we can't continue like this. I think we should stop." The words didn't make sense at first. She stopped walking completely, standing under a neem tree as people brushed past her. "Stop what? The lessons? Or us?" "Us," he said quietly. "I'm sorry. It's over." Her heart started pounding, so hard she felt it in her throat. "Chinidu, what are you saying? We were fine yesterday. We spoke last night for 2 hours. You said you loved me. What happened?" Another pause. Longer this time. "It's not you, Ezen. It's me. I'm not ready for all this." "All this?" Her voice rose. "All this meaning what? Holding hands? Planning a future? Or the fact that I gave you everything? My heart, my body, my trust?" He didn't answer directly. "I'm really sorry. Please don't cry. You're a good girl. You'll find someone better." She was crying now, hot tears rolling down her cheeks in broad daylight. People glanced at her, a pretty girl in school uniform weeping under a tree, but no one stopped. "Chinidu, tell me the truth. Is there another person? Did I do something wrong? Talk to me." "No, no other person," he said quickly. Too quickly. "I just need space. My parents, university. I don't know. I can't explain it. Please understand." But there was nothing to understand. No fight. No betrayal she could point to. No gradual cooling off. Just love one day, and nothing the next. She begged. She pleaded. She asked him to meet her so they could talk face to face. "Come to my house, or I'll come to yours. Let's fix this." "I can't," he said. "It's better this way." Clean break. Then he hung up. Ezen stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the phone, willing it to ring again with an apology, an explanation, anything. But it stayed silent. She walked home in a daze, the world blurred through tears. When she reached the compound, she slipped past the myguard, ran up to her room, locked the door, and collapsed on the bed. The crying started then, deep, guttural sobs that shook her whole body. She cried until her throat was raw, until her pillow was soaked, until her mother knocked on the door asking if she was okay. "I'm fine, Mummy," she lied through the door. "Just headache from reading." But she wasn't fine. For days, she replayed every single moment. Had she been too clingy? Too serious about the future? Was it because she wasn't pretty enough anymore? Or had he found someone new? Maybe one of those bold girls who wore makeup to lessons and flirted openly? She called him repeatedly. The first few times, he picked up and repeated the same lines. "I'm sorry. It's over. Please move on." Then he stopped answering. Texts went unread. WhatsApp messages stayed on one tick. She even went to the coaching center, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, but he had stopped attending altogether. Her friends tried to help. Her good friends from church brought food and prayed with her. But Ada and Chioma, the wild ones, they said things like, "All men are the same. Forget him. Come out with us tonight." Inside, Something hardened. One night, lying in the dark, Ezen stared at the ceiling and made a vow to herself. No more tears for any boy. No more trust. No more giving her heart, or her body, until she was old enough, wise enough, and absolutely ready. I will not love again, she whispered fiercely into the silence. Not until I'm 30. Not until I'm ready to marry and nothing else. No man will ever hurt me like this again. She wiped her face, sat up, and deleted every single photo of Chinidu from her phone. She burned the love letters in a metal bowl in the backyard when no one was watching. She blocked his number, unfollowed him on every platform. But the pain didn't leave. It settled deep inside her like a heavy stone. She didn't know it then, but that stone would shape every decision she made for the next 13 years. The heartbreak wasn't just the end of a teenage romance. It was the beginning of a war against love, against men, and against the vulnerable girl she used to be. And in war, sometimes the person who gets hurt the most is the one who starts it. The weeks following the breakup passed in a haze of forced smiles and hidden tears. Ezen still went to school, still came top in class tests, still helped her mother serve food at Grace events on the weekends. To the outside world, she was the same golden girl, polite, brilliant, untouchable. But inside, a storm was raging. Every love song on the radio felt like a personal attack. Every couple she saw holding hands on the street was a reminder of what she had lost. Sleep brought nightmares of Chinidu's smile turning cold, waking her up in a sweat. Her good friends, Ojeki from the choir and Ifyinanya from the debate club, they tried their best. They would come to her house with novels and biscuits, sit on her bed, and just let her cry. He doesn't deserve you, Ojeki would say, stroking her hair. God has someone better. They prayed with her, reading psalms about the Lord being close to the brokenhearted. But their gentle comfort felt too soft, too slow. Ezen didn't want healing just yet. She wanted the pain to mean something. She wanted to feel powerful again. That was when Ada, Chioma, and Vivian re-entered her life, silently, like smoke under a door. She'd known them loosely since junior high. Girls whose families were comfortable, but not quite on the same level as hers. Ada's father was a customs officer who traveled often. Chioma's mother sold expensive fabrics in a major market. Vivian's older brother was sending money from Malaysia. They were the ones who wore colored bras under their white school uniforms, who skipped assembly to gossip behind the science block, who always had the latest phones and expensive hair. During her romance with Chinidu, Ezen had kept her distance. Her mother's warnings echoed in her mind. Those girls will spoil you. They have no home training. But now, those warnings sounded old-fashioned, irrelevant. When Ada bumped into her at the mall one Saturday and said, "Easy-eyed baby, long time. Come, let's chill," Ezen didn't walk away. They met at a popular spot in the mall. The four of them sat in a corner booth, sharing ice cream and chips. Ada looked different. A long weave, perfectly lined lips, a gold necklace that spelled her name. Chioma wore a short skirt that showed off legs toned from constant clubbing. Vivian was scrolling through her phone, showing pictures from parties in Lagos. "Guy, you've changed," Ada said, eyeing Ezen. "You're finer than before. But your face, what happened?" Ezen hesitated, then poured it all out. The love, the promises, the sudden breakup. She expected sympathy. Instead, the girls laughed. "Men," Chioma exclaimed, rolling her eyes. "All of them are the same. Today they love you. Tomorrow they're chasing the next skirt. Especially these small boys like Chinidu," Vivian added. "He's still a child. Wait till he gets to university. You'll see how many girls he'll be chasing." Ada leaned forward, her voice low and knowing. "The mistake you made was taking him seriously. Love is for the movies. In real life, you use them before they use you." Ezen frowned. "But I loved him." "Love will not buy you Brazilian hair," Ada shot back. "Love will not take you to Dubai. Look, forget that boy. Come out with us tonight. We're going to a club, a top DJ is playing. You'll dance, drink, and forget his name by morning." Ezen shook her head. "I'm not really in the mood for a club." Chioma protested. "That's why you're suffering. You're sitting at home thinking. Come and enjoy life a little." Nobody died. They pressed her until she agreed. Just this once. That night, her mother was catering an event, so the house was quiet. Ezen told the housekeeper she was sleeping over at Ojeki's house, a lie that came surprisingly easily. Ada sent a cab to pick her up. In the car, the girls presented her with a short black dress and heels. "You can't wear church girl clothes to the club," Vivian laughed. The club was louder and hotter than anything Ezen had ever imagined. The bass from the speakers vibrated in her chest. Colored lights swept across hundreds of bodies moving as one. The air smelled of perfume, sweat, and expensive alcohol. Men in designer shirts and gold chains stared openly. Women in barely their outfits danced like they owned the night. At first, Ezen stood awkwardly by the bar, clutching a non-alcoholic drink. But the music pulled at her. Ada dragged her to the dance floor. "Loosen up," she shouted over the noise. "Shake that thing." And Ezen did. For the first time since the breakup, she stopped thinking. She danced until her feet hurt, until sweat made her dress cling to her skin, until laughter bubbled up from somewhere deep inside. Men approached, some polite, some crude, offering drinks, asking for her number. The girls taught her how to accept the drinks and dodge giving out her number. By 3 a.m., when they finally left, Ezen was drunk on music and a new sense of freedom. In the cab home, Ada said, "See? Better than crying over one useless boy." The outings became regular. Fridays at one lounge, Saturdays at another, sometimes midweek, ladies' night events. Ezen learned the rules quickly. Never pay for your own drink. Never give your real number to a guy you don't trust, and always move in a pack. She bought new clothes, crop tops, bodycon dresses, heels that made her legs look endless. Her mother complained about the late nights and revealing outfits, but Ezen answered sharply, "I'm almost 18, Mummy. Let me live." She had traded her quiet sorrow for the loud, glittering world of nightlife, believing it was the only way to silence the pain. But as she would soon find out, some voids can't be filled by flashing lights and loud music. They just get bigger. Her good friends noticed the change. Ojeki pulled her aside after choir practice. "Ezen, these girls you're following, they're not good for you. Come back to us." But Ezen shrugged. "I'm fine. I'm just enjoying myself." Deep down, she knew it was more than enjoyment. Every time a man stared at her in the club, every time someone called her fine girl and begged for her attention, a small voice whispered, "See? You are desirable. Chinidu was a fool to leave you." The girls started talking about money. How certain men, aristos, they called them, would take care of you if you spent a night. At first, it was jokes, then stories. Chioma showed off a new iPhone 5 bought by a banker she met at SIP. Vivian posted pictures from a weekend in Abuja, all expenses paid by a politician's son. Ezen listened, half horrified, half fascinated. "But don't you feel used?" she asked once. Ada laughed. "Who is using who? They have money they don't know what to do with. We have beauty. It's business. No love, no heartbreak. Just cash." The seed was planted. She didn't take the final step yet, but the path was clearing, one night at a time. The good girl who once dreamed of law school and a fairy tale wedding was slowly fading, replaced by someone harder, angrier, and dangerously curious. Bad company, her mother had warned. But bad company felt like power. And power, after heartbreak, tasted sweet. Chapter 5, The First Step. It happened during a weekend trip to Lagos, 3 months after the breakup. Ezen's cousin, Kayamika, was getting married at Ikoyi, and the entire Okeke family had traveled down for the celebrations. The wedding was grand. White tents on the lawn of the Oriental Hotel, live band playing highlife and Afrobeat, tables groaning under mountains of jollof rice, fried meat, and chilled champagne. Mama Grace was in her element, directing her catering team like a general. Chief Emeka networked with other big men, laughing loudly over glasses of Hennessy. Ezen, now 18 and officially done with secondary school, awaiting jam results, was supposed to be enjoying herself. She wore a stunning royal blue lace gown sewn by the best tailor in Enugu, coral beads stacked high on her neck and wrists, makeup done by a professional artist flown in from Abuja. Heads turned as she moved through the crowd. Whispers of "See fine girl" followed her like perfume. But inside, she felt hollow. Seeing the bride and groom exchange vows under a floral arch reminded her too much of the promises Chinidu had whispered that rainy afternoon. When the couple danced their first dance to Banky W's Yes or No, she excused herself and slipped outside to the poolside terrace. Ada, Chioma, and Vivian had also been invited. Distant connections through family friends, and they found her there, staring at the city lights reflecting on the lagoon. "Easy eye, why you day hide here?" Ada asked, already a little tipsy. "Come inside, nah, the party is sweet." "I'm coming," Ezen said quietly. Chioma studied her face. You're thinking about that boy again, ABI? Ezen didn't answer, but her eyes gave her away. Vivian rolled her eyes. Forget him, Jer. See all these fine men inside, senators' sons, oil money, bankers. Pick one and enjoy yourself. They dragged her back inside, straight to the bar. Shots of tequila appeared. Salt, lime, burned down the throat. The music shifted to louder Afrobeat, to Maya's Bum Bum, then Wizkid's new track. The girls pulled her to the dance floor, and soon she was moving again, hips swaying, hands in the air, letting the rhythm push thoughts of Chinedu further back. That was when he approached. He was older, mid-30s, maybe, dressed in a perfectly tailored navy igbata with gold embroidery that screamed money. His shoes were Italian leather, watch heavy on his wrist, beard neatly trimmed. He introduced himself as Alhaji Musa Bello, a businessman who imported electronics from Dubai. He had that confident, quiet swagger of men who never had to beg for attention. He didn't dance around it. After watching her for 2 songs, he came straight to their circle, eyes fixed on Ezen. Beautiful, he said simply, voice deep. What's your name? Ezen, she replied, meeting his gaze. The tequila made her bold. He smiled. Ibo. Yes. Enugu. Ah, Coal City girls. Very fine. Very classy. He turned to her friends. You ladies are enjoying? They laughed and nodded. Within minutes, he had ordered a bottle of Dom Perignon. Real one, not the fake stuff most people served, and VIP seating in a corner booth. The waiter popped the cork with a flourish. Glasses filled with golden bubbles. Alhaji Musa sat close to Ezen, not touching, but near enough that she could smell his expensive oud cologne. He asked about her, school, family, plans for university. He listened like he actually cared. He told her about his trips to Dubai, his houses in Abuja and Banana Island, his children in school abroad. He was married. He admitted casually. 2 wives already. But a man like me always has room for a special woman. Her friends exchanged knowing glances. Ada mouthed, jackpot. As the night wore on, the wedding crowd thinned. The older guests left. The younger ones moved to the after-party at Quillock's. Alhaji Musa invited them all. My driver will take us. VIP table on me. In the SUV, a gleaming black G-Wagon. The girls giggled in the back while Ezen sat in front with him. His hand rested on the gear stick, occasionally brushing her thigh when he changed gears. She didn't move away. Quillock's was chaos in the best way, strobing lights, smoke machines, Davido performing live on stage. Their table was upstairs, overlooking the dance floor. More bottles arrived. Ace of Spades, Cristal. Alhaji ordered platters of pepper soup, asin, suya. Money flowed like water. At some point, Ada pulled Ezen aside in the ladies' room. This man is loaded, she whispered urgently. He's been asking me about you. He wants to take you to his hotel tonight. He's offering 250,000. Ezen stared at her reflection in the mirror. Eyes slightly red from champagne, lipstick faded. 250,000 naira. That was more than her father gave her in 6 months of allowance. For what? She asked, though she already knew. Ada shrugged. Just to keep him company. Sleepover. Nothing serious. He's clean, he's gentle, he's rich. And no strings. Ezen's heart pounded. Part of her screamed no. This was wrong. This was crossing a line her mother would never forgive. But another part, the part still bleeding from Chinedu's betrayal, whispered something darker. Why not? Men take what they want and walk away. Why should I always be the one left hurting? Why shouldn't I take something back? She thought of Chinedu, probably asleep in his parents' house right now, not sparing her a thought. She thought of all the promises he made while taking her virginity, promises that meant nothing. I'll do it, she said finally. Ada grinned and hugged her. Good girl. You won't regret it. Back at the table, Alhaji Musa read the answer in her eyes. He didn't cheer or gloat, just nodded, satisfied. He paid the bill, over 1 million naira, the manager said, and led her out to the car. Her friends waved goodbye with winks and thumbs up. The hotel was Eco's signature in Victoria Island, presidential suite on the top floor. The room was bigger than her parents' living room. Marble floors, king bed with silk sheets, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the Atlantic Ocean black and endless under the moon. He was surprisingly gentle. No rush, no force. He ordered room service, strawberries, chocolate, more champagne. He kissed her slowly, undressed her like she was something precious. It wasn't love, it wasn't even close, but it wasn't violent or degrading either. It was transaction, clean and clear. When it was over, he showered, came back in a hotel robe, and placed a thick envelope on the nightstand. For you, my dear. For making an old man very happy. Inside were crisp notes, 250,000 naira exactly, plus an extra 50 for transport and shopping. He called his driver to take her home whenever she was ready. She showered, dressed, and left at dawn, the envelope heavy in her handbag. In the car riding through empty Lagos streets, sunrise turning the sky pink, Ezen stared out the window. She waited for shame to flood her, for regret, for tears. But what came instead was something colder. Power. She had taken money from a man who wanted her body. He got what he paid for. She got what she wanted. No promises broken. No heart involved. As the car pulled up to the family friend's house in Lekki where they were staying, she looked at the envelope again. This is better than love, she told herself firmly. No one can hurt you if you don't let them in. She didn't know it yet, but that night in Lagos wasn't just one night. It was the first step onto a road that would lead her far from home, far from the girl she used to be, and deep into a life she could never have imagined. The golden girl had taken her first taste of darkness, and it didn't taste bitter at all. Chapter 6. Shame in the Hometown. Word travels fast in Enugu. It always has. At first, it was just a whisper. A cousin of Ada's who had been at the Lagos wedding saw Ezen leaving Quilox in the early hours with Alhaji Musa. She told her sister, who told her friend at the salon, who told her customer, a woman whose husband worked in Ogbeat Market near Chief Okeke's fabric shops. By the time Ezen returned to Enugu with her family, the story had already taken root. That fine daughter of Chief Okeke, the one reading law. I hear she followed one housome man in Lagos. Followed how? You know now, overnight. The whispers grew louder. Ezen tried to ignore them. She went back to her routine, waiting for university admission, helping her mother with catering jobs, attending midweek service at Holy Ghost Cathedral. But she felt eyes on her everywhere. At the market, women who once greeted her warmly now turned away or stared too long. At church, aunties in matching Ankara headscarves murmured behind their fans during the sermon. She told herself it was nothing. Just jealous people with nothing better to do. But Enugu is small. Too small for secrets. It started reaching her peers. Boys who had once written her love letters in secondary school now made crude jokes when she passed. Auntie, how much for one night? One idiot shouted from an Okada as she walked to the bus stop. Her cheeks burned, but she kept her head high. Then it reached her brothers. Onika, the one closest to her in age, came home from university one weekend and confronted her in the backyard while she was helping the housekeeper wash plates. Is it true? He asked quietly, eyes hard. What people are saying about you in Lagos? Ezen froze, sponge dripping in her hand. What are people saying? That you're doing runs. Sleeping with men for money. She wanted to lie, to laugh it off, but the look on his face stopped her. It was just once, she said finally, voice small. I was hurt. I made a mistake. Onika shook his head. Once is enough to spoil your name, Easy Eye. Do you know what this will do to Daddy if he hears? She begged him not to tell, promised it would never happen again. He agreed, reluctantly, but the distance between them grew after that. It didn't stop there. Ada and Chioma, emboldened by Ezen's new connection, started inviting her out more often, even back in Enugu. Small lounges, house parties in GRA, hotels where men from Abuja came for business. Ezen went. Not every time, but enough. The money was easy. 50,000 here, 100,000 there. She bought herself a new BlackBerry Bold, expensive weave-ons, shoes from Polo Park boutiques. She told her mother the money came from helping with catering jobs. But mothers know. One evening, Mama Grace called her into the bedroom. The door was closed, a bad sign. Ezen, she began softly, I have been hearing things. Bad things. About you and men. Old men. Is it true? Ezen's stomach dropped. She knelt immediately, the way children do when seeking mercy. Mummy, it's not like that. People are just lying. Her mother looked at her for a long time. I pray it is lies. Because if it is true, you are destroying yourself. And you are destroying this family. Ezen cried, promised again that it would stop. And for a few weeks, it did. But the damage was already spreading. The final explosion came on a Sunday after Mass. Chief Emeka Okeke was a proud man. He walked into church with his family every week, chest out, a bada flowing, greeting bishops and knights of the church. People respected him, feared him a little. His name opened doors. That Sunday, as they were leaving the cathedral, a business associate, Mr. Nwachukwu, who owned filling stations, pulled him aside near the car park. "Chief, Baiko, there is something I must tell you as a brother," he began, voice low. "It is about your daughter, Ezen." Chief Okeke smiled at first. "Yes? She got admission?" Mr. Nwachukwu hesitated. "No, Chief. It is. I hear she is moving with bad girls. That she has started prostitution. In Lagos. Even here in Enugu. People are talking. I did not want to believe it, but I saw her myself one night at De Rose's with some of those Ashawo girls and one big man." The smile froze on Chief Okeke's face. He didn't say anything in the car on the way home. The silence was heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. When they reached the compound, he told everyone else to go inside. Then he called Ezen to the parlor, the formal one with leather sofas and family portraits on the wall, the one used only for important visitors. He sat in his favorite armchair. She stood before him, heart pounding. "Is it true?" he asked. Voice calm. Too calm. "Daddy, is it true?" Louder this time. Tears filled her eyes. She couldn't lie to his face. "It started after that boy broke my heart," she whispered. "I was angry. I made mistakes. But I've stopped. I promise." He stared at her as if seeing a stranger. "Mistakes," he repeated. "You call bringing shame to my name a mistake? Do you know what people are saying? That my only daughter, my Ada, is now a common prostitute? That men are paying to sleep with you." His voice rose with every word. "I built this name with my sweat. I sent you to the best schools. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me." He stood up suddenly, pacing. "Do you know what this means? No decent man will marry you now. No family will allow their son near you. You have destroyed your future." Ezen sobbed on the floor. "Daddy, please. Forgive me. I'll change." But he was beyond forgiveness. "From today," he said, voice shaking with rage and pain, "you are no longer my daughter. Pack your things and leave this house. I do not want to see your face again." Mama Grace rushed in then, begging, crying, holding his legs. "Emeka, Baiko. She is our only girl. She will change." But Chief Okeke was immovable. "A rotten fruit will spoil the whole basket. Let her go." That night, under the cover of darkness, Ezen packed 2 bags. Her mother slipped her some money and a small ghana-must-go with clothes and provisions, tears streaming down her face. "Go to Lagos," Mama whispered. "Stay with Auntie Ngozi in Festac until you find your feet. And please, my daughter, change. For your sake." Onika helped carry her bags to a taxi waiting outside the gate. He hugged her tightly, eyes wet. "Be careful, Easy Eye. Call me when you reach." As the taxi pulled away, Ezen looked back at the compound, the mango tree, the generator house, the lights in the windows. Her home. She cried silently all the way to the park. By morning, she was in Lagos. The city of dreams. The city that swallows girls like her whole. She didn't know it yet, but the shame in her hometown had only just begun to follow her. Names stick. Reputations travel faster than people. And in Nigeria, once a girl is labeled a shawo, it is almost impossible to remove the tag. Ezen had lost her family, her name, her home, but she still had her beauty. And in Lagos, beauty could be currency. She wiped her tears as the bus crossed the Niger Bridge. A new life was beginning. Whether it would save her or destroy her completely, only time would tell. Chapter 7. Escape to Lagos. The luxury bus from Enugu pulled into Oshodi at dawn, the sky a dull gray with the promise of another hot Lagos day. Ezen stepped off with her 2 bags and the small ghana-must-go her mother had packed, the air thick with the smell of diesel, fried plantain, and human sweat. Tout boys shouted for passengers, Okada riders revved engines, hawkers thrust pure water sachets and gala at windows. It was chaos, but it was the kind of chaos that swallowed people whole. And that was exactly what Ezen wanted. Auntie Ngozi, her mother's younger sister, was waiting in an old Toyota Camry. She was a nurse at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, widowed early, with 2 teenage sons. She hugged Ezen tightly without asking questions at first, just murmuring, "Ndu, my daughter. Welcome." In the car riding through 3rd Mainland Bridge, the lagoon sparkling below, Auntie Ngozi finally spoke. "Your mother called me. She told me everything. I won't judge you, but this city is not kind to girls who make mistakes. You will stay with me in Festac until you find your way." But you must be careful. Ezen nodded, staring out at the endless stream of cars. I just want to start again, Ani, where nobody knows my name. She stayed in Festac for 3 months. The house was small but neat. 3 bedrooms, constant noise from neighbors playing loud music, children running in the corridors. Ani Ngozi's sons, Chuka and Emeka, treated her like an older sister, sharing their PlayStation and teasing her about her Enugu accent. She helped with cooking and cleaning, went to the market at 23 Road, attended Mass at St. Augustine's Catholic Church. For a while, she almost convinced herself she could live quietly. Maybe enroll in a computer school, learn Microsoft Office, get a job as a secretary. But Lagos has a rhythm, a pull. It whispers to young people with broken hearts and empty pockets. Come out. Enjoy. Hustle. Ada and Chioma were already in Lagos full-time, sharing a flat in Surulere with Vivian. They called her constantly. Easy eye, you're wasting in that Festac village. Oh. Come to mainland. We have a room for you. Things are happening here. At first, she resisted. But the nights were long. Memories of her father's words, "You are no longer my daughter," echoed in her head. The money her mother sent ran out quickly. Ani Ngozi was kind, but Ezen saw the strain of feeding one more mouth. One Friday, Ada sent transport money and an address. House 14, Adeniran Ogunsanya Street, Surulere. Just come for the weekend, she said. If you don't like it, you go back. Ezen went. The flat was a 2-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an old Face Me I Face You building. Water came from a well in the compound. NEPA light was rare, but the girls had a small generator and a flat-screen TV. Clothes hung everywhere. Brazilian hair packs, designer bags, shoes in boxes. It smelled of perfume, weaving glue, and fried indomie. That weekend, they took her out. First to Sip Lounge on Isaac John in Acacia, then to Quillox again. The men were different here, more aggressive, more moneyed. Bankers in suits after work, oil workers fresh from the rig, Lebanese businessmen, even a few Nollywood actors. Ezen watched how easily her friends worked the room. Smiles, touches on the arm, whispers that led to envelopes later. On Saturday night, a man approached her directly, tall, dark, in his 40s, wearing a crisp white kaftan. He introduced himself as Chief Okafor, an importer in Idamota. He bought bottles without looking at the price, asked about her, listened like she mattered. At the end of the night, he offered to drop her. In his Range Rover, riding through empty streets, he was direct. I like you. You're classy, not like these other girls. Spend the weekend with me at my guest house in Lekki. I'll take care of you. He named a figure, 150,000 naira. Ezen thought of her father's parlor, the way he looked at her like she was dirt. She thought of Chinedu, who had taken everything and given nothing. Yes, she said. The guest house was beautiful. Swimming pool, DSTV in every room, cook on call. Chief was married with children in America, but his wife was in the village. He was kind in his way, bought her new clothes at the mall, took her to eat sushi at Eco Hotel, didn't force anything rough. When she left on Sunday evening, he added an extra 50,000 for your hair and cream. Back in Surulere, Ada and Chioma counted the money with her, screaming in excitement. See, this is Lagos. This is freedom. Ezen moved in the following week. She paid rent, 20,000 monthly, bought a bigger bed, contributed to generator fuel and food. The girls taught her the rules. Always use condom. No exception. Never go home with a stranger without telling someone where. Save at least half of everything. Open a secret account. Don't fall in love. It's business. She followed them religiously. She learned the hotspots quickly. Allen Avenue for quick hotel links, Freedom Park on Fridays, Elagushi beach parties on Sundays. She got a new phone, an iPhone 5S bought by a client, and created a separate Instagram for work, posting carefully angled photos in bikinis or tight dresses, captions like, "Living my best life kiss marked." Her name changed too. In Enugu, she was Ezen Adizo Keke. Here, she became simply Zara or Ada Lagos. Anonymity was armor. The money came fast. In her first full month, she made over 800,000 naira. She opened an account at GT Bank under just Ezen Okeke, no middle name, and started saving. She sent small amounts to her mother anonymously through Ani Ngozi, who passed it on without questions. She was careful, clinic visits every month for tests, Postinor only in emergencies, condoms in every bag. She avoided drugs beyond occasional champagne. She didn't smoke, didn't do codeine or loud. Lagos became her teacher. She learned to read men. The quiet ones who wanted conversation first, the loud ones who wanted to show off, the married ones who cried after sex and promised to leave their wives. They never did. She learned which hotels were safe, Southern Sun, Radisson Blu, Eco Signature, and which to avoid. She bought land documents through a client, later discovered to be fake, but she learned. She invested in a small hair business with Chioma, importing bundles from Guangzhou. Most importantly, she learned to detach. When a man touched her, she closed her eyes and thought of savings accounts, future boutiques, a house in Lekki Phase 1. She told herself this was temporary, just until 30. Then she would stop, marry a good man who didn't know her past, have children, go to church every Sunday. But Lagos has a way of stretching temporary into years. By Christmas 2013, she had over 5 million naira saved. She rented her own one-bedroom in Surulere, off Bode Thomas, modern, with prepaid meter, borehole, security gate. She furnished it beautifully, cream leather sofas, 50-inch TV, king bed with Egyptian cotton sheets. She visited Ani and Ngozi sometimes, took the boys shopping, paid their school fees once. But she never went back to Enugu. Not even for her brother Chikwudi's wedding in 2014. She sent money and expensive gifts, but stayed away. Her father had meant it. She was no longer his daughter. And in Lagos, no one asked questions. Here, she was Zara. Beautiful, desired, rich, free. Or so she told herself as she lay alone in her new bed at night. The hum of the air conditioner drowning out the silence in her heart. The escape to Lagos had worked. No one knew her old name. But deep inside, the girl from Enugu was still there, watching, waiting, wondering if freedom was just another kind of prison. The dangers around her. Ezen had been in Lagos for 4 years when she truly understood how fragile the life she had chosen was. By 2017, she was 22, established in her Surulere flat, with a steady circle of clients and a bank balance that would have made her teenage self gasp. She had upgraded her wardrobe, designer bags from Milan, shoes from Dubai trips sponsored by generous uncles, gold jewelry that gleamed under club lights. She drove a 2015 Toyota Corolla bought outright, no hire purchase, and had started making plans to buy land in Aja. Her friends, Ada, Chioma, Vivian, and a few newer girls like Sandra and Blessing, formed a tight sisterhood. They shared tips on the best hotels, warned each other about violent or stingy clients, celebrated birthdays with cakes and bottles at upscale lounges. From outside, it looked glamorous. Instagram posts showed them in private jets to Abuja, popping champagne on yachts at Tarkwa Bay, posing in front of luxury cars. Captions read, "Living my best life, boss lady, queens only." But beneath the filter, danger lurked everywhere. The first real scare came with Ngozi. Ngozi was not one of the original crew. She joined later, a tall, light-skinned girl from Delta State who had run away from an abusive husband in Warri. She was funny, fearless, and generous, always the first to dash money to hawkers or pay for everyone's drinks. The girls loved her. She moved fast in the game, targeting only high-end clients, expatriates in Ikoyi, top executives, occasional celebrities. One night in 2016, Ngozi met a Lebanese businessman at the Sky Lounge in Eco Hotel. He was new in Lagos, charming, promised her a monthly allowance of $2,000 if she became his exclusive girlfriend. She was excited, told everyone this was her ticket out. "No more random men," she said, showing off the iPhone 7 he bought her the next day. "This one will take me to Beirut." They spent a weekend together in his serviced apartment in Victoria Island. On the Sunday evening, he dropped her at her gate in Yaba with his driver, kissed her goodbye, and said he'd call when he returned from a trip to Port Harcourt. He never called. 3 days later, Ngozi started feeling feverish. Body pain, rashes, swollen glands. She thought it was malaria, common enough in Lagos. Took the usual drugs, but it didn't clear. By the end of the week, she could barely stand. The girls forced her to the clinic on Allen Avenue, the discreet one they all used. The doctor ran tests. When the results came back, he called her in alone. HIV positive. Ngozi came out of the office white as tissue paper. She didn't cry at first, just sat in the waiting room staring at the floor. Then she started shaking. The Lebanese man had used a condom the first night, she said later, but not the second or third. He swore he was clean, promised he got tested regularly. The girls rallied around her, paid for the best ARVs at a private hospital in Ikeja. Ada's older sponsor even connected her to a specialist in South Africa. But the damage was done. Ngozi wasted away quickly. The drugs helped, but her spirit broke. She stopped going out, stopped answering calls from clients. She moved back to Warri to be with her mother, and 6 months later, word came that she had died from complications. At the small memorial the girls held in a Surrealist bar, Ezen stared at Ngozi's picture on the table, smiling, beautiful, full of life, and felt ice in her veins. She trusted him, Chioma whispered. Just one mistake. Ezen went home that night and threw out every condom that wasn't new. She started double-checking expiry dates like a mad woman. Then came Amaka. Amaka was loud, dramatic, and ambitious. She wanted to blow, become an influencer, maybe act in movies. She dated politicians openly, posted cryptic messages about senators and governors on Instagram. In 2018, she got pregnant by a married honorable from the House of Representatives. He was powerful, flashy, always surrounded by police escorts. At first, he was happy, promised to buy her a house in Asakoro, send her to London to deliver. But when she refused to abort, "This is my chance to secure my future," she told the girls, he changed. One night, after an argument over the phone, 2 men on Okada followed her home from a club in 6. They dragged her into a bush along Ozumba Badyu, beat her until she miscarried, left her bleeding on the ground. She survived, but barely. Spent weeks in Reddington Hospital. The baby was gone. The Honorable denied everything, said she was just a random girl trying to blackmail him. Police never investigated properly. Amaka left Lagos after that, moved to Canada somehow, with help from another client. No one heard from her again. Then Sandra. Sandra was the youngest, barely 20 when she joined the circle in 2019. Pretty in a soft way, with dimples and a gap tooth. She was dating a Yahoo boy on the side, one of those flashy ones with tinted G-Wagons and multiple girlfriends. He spoiled her, rented her a flat in Lekki Phase 1, bought her a Mini Cooper. But Yahoo boys have enemies. One morning in 2020, during the COVID lockdown, armed robbers broke into her apartment. They weren't ordinary thieves. They knew exactly where she kept her jewelry and dollars. They tied her up, beat her, raped her repeatedly, then shot her in the head before leaving. Police called it a robbery gone wrong. The girls knew better. It was a message. Her body was found 2 days later when neighbors complained of smell. Ezen went to the morgue with Vivian to identify her. She still remembers the cold room, the sheet pulled back, Sandra's face swollen and bruised, eyes open in surprise. She vomited in the parking lot afterward. There were smaller dangers too, constant ones. Chioma was robbed at gunpoint in traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Lost her phone, bag, everything. Vivian was drugged at a party in Banana Island. Woke up in a hotel with no memory of the night, bruises on her thighs. Ada fought with a client who refused to pay after a weekend in Calabar. He slapped her, locked her in the room until she behaved. And yet, nothing touched Ezen. Not once. Clients were always respectful. Maybe because she carried herself differently, spoke well, never seemed desperate. She avoided politicians and Yahoo boys. Stuck to businessmen, expatriates, quiet married men who wanted discretion above all. She tested negative every month without fail. No pregnancies, no robberies, no violence. The girls started joking about it. "Easy eye, you have strong head Ada would say. "Nah Jazz, your village people they protect you." Ezen laughed it off, but privately she wondered. She still wore the small juju bead her grandmother had tied on her wrist as a child, a black thread with a single red bead. Her grandmother, Mama Nwok, had been known in the village as someone with strong eye. Before Ezen left for secondary school, Mama had prayed over her, tied the bead, and said, "This will protect you from evil until you are ready to settle." Ezen never took it off. Some nights, after hearing another horror story, she would finger the bead and whisper thanks to God, to her ancestors, to whatever force was watching over her. But protection came at a cost. She watched her friends suffer, one by one, and felt survivors' guilt mixed with fear. Every time she lay with a man, she wondered, will this be the night the condom breaks? Will this be the client who turns violent? Will this be the day my luck runs out? She became even more careful. 3 clients maximum per week. No overnights with new men. Location shared with Ada via WhatsApp always. Emergency money hidden in her bra. Pepper spray in her bag. And still, the dangers circled like vultures. By 2021, when Vivian announced she was quitting, I can't bury another sister, Ezen started thinking seriously about her own exit plan. She had saved over 30 million naira by then, invested some in stocks through a banker client, bought 2 plots in Sangatito, real ones this time, verified by a lawyer. She told herself, just a few more years. Until 30, then stop. But watching the dangers claim everyone around her, she began to understand something deeper. Protection wasn't permanent. Luck runs out. And one day, the shadows that had taken her friends might come for her too. She touched the red bead on her wrist more often and prayed, really prayed, for the strength to leave before it was too late. Chapter 9. Years of Hustle. From age 23 to 28, Ezen lived the life she had designed for herself, one of calculated risk, disciplined pleasure, and relentless saving. Lagos had fully claimed her by now. She no longer thought of Enugu as home. It was a place she visited only in dreams or during rare phone calls with her mother. Her one-bedroom in Surulere became a sanctuary. Soft lighting from scented candles, a walk-in closet bursting with clothes organized by color, a small altar in the corner with a statue of the Virgin Mary, and a framed photo of her family taken before everything fell apart. She kept that photo face down most days. Her days followed a rhythm. Mornings were for recovery and self-care. She woke late, 10 or 11 a.m., after nights that often ended at dawn. Breakfast was usually fruits and yogurt delivered from a healthy eatery in Ikoyi, or Accra, and pap from the woman at the end of her street. She did yoga videos on YouTube, went to the gym twice a week at the upscale one in Victoria Island, membership paid by a client, got facials and massages at a Korean spa in Lekki. Her skin stayed flawless, her body toned and curvaceous in all the ways men paid premium for. Afternoons were for errands and business. She had branched out beyond just dates. With Chioma, she imported human hair from Vietnam and sold to salons in Balagan Market. With Vivian's help, she started supplying luxury creams and perfumes to boutiques in Ikeja. She learned about fixed deposits, treasury bills, mutual funds, knowledge gained from banker clients who wanted to impress her with their expertise. She attended free financial seminars disguised as a regular young professional, taking notes on her iPad. Evenings and nights belonged to work. She had a roster of regulars, 8 to 10 men she saw consistently. There was Mr. Adeyemi, the managing director of a telecom company, who flew her to Abuja every other week for board meetings that were really weekends in Transcorp Hilton. There was Richard, the British expatriate who managed an oil servicing firm and preferred quiet dinners at rooftop restaurants followed by nights in his Ikoyi penthouse. There was Chief Nwosu, a contractor with federal connections who loved taking her to Awambi parties as his niece before disappearing to hotels in Jare Ikeja. There was even a young tech entrepreneur, Toby, who paid her monthly allowance just to be on call whenever he was stressed. New clients came through referrals or social settings. She no longer stood on Allen Avenue or waited in lounges like a beginner. Now, she was invited to boat cruises on the lagoon, to private birthday dinners in Banana Island mansions, to Art X Lagos openings where champagne flowed and conversations were about millions. Her beauty, combined with her intelligence and discretion, made her a favorite among a certain class of men. She charged premium rates. A night, 300,000 to 500,000 naira. A weekend, 1 to 2 million, depending on location. Travel, Dubai, Accra, London, all expenses plus a handsome fee. She never haggled. If a man complained about price, she smiled sweetly and moved on. There were always others. The money piled up faster than she could have imagined. By 25, her savings crossed 50 million naira. She bought her first property, a 3-bedroom terrace in Chevron Drive, Lekki, rented out to an expatriate family for dollars. Then 2 more plots in Sangatito. She invested in a friend's poultry farm in Ogun State, bought shares in blue-chip companies through a stockbroker client. She opened dollar accounts, sent money to her mother regularly now, enough for Mama Grace to build a small house in the village and start a provision store. She spoiled herself too, but smartly. Trips to Dubai 3 times a year, shopping at Dubai Mall, staying at Atlantis the Palm, all paid for. A 2020 Mercedes C-Class bought cash. Designer bags. Hermes Birkin from a client in Paris, Chanel from another in London. Gold jewelry from Dubai Gold Souk. She had a personal tailor who flew in lace from Switzerland for her Christmas outfits. From outside, her life looked perfect. Instagram, private account, carefully curated, showed vacations, fine dining, glowing skin. Comments from other girls. Goals. Queen, how do I become like you? But there were costs no money could erase. She hadn't spoken to her father in years. Not since the day he threw her out. Her brothers sent occasional messages. Birthdays, Christmas. But the warmth was gone. Chakwoodi's children called her Auntie Ezen when she visited once in 2021, but she saw the caution in her sister-in-law's eyes. She had no real friends beyond the circle. The girls understood the life, but trust was limited. Everyone had secrets. Everyone competed quietly for the best clients. Relationships? Impossible. Men who knew what she did wanted only her body. Men who didn't know eventually found out, or suspected, and left. She tried dating civilians twice. A doctor she met at a wedding, an architect introduced by a cousin. Both ended when the truth surfaced. One called her names. The other ghosted. Loneliness became her constant companion. Some nights, after a client left her hotel room with a polite, "Thank you, baby," she would sit on the balcony overlooking Lagos lights and feel empty. The sex was mechanical now. Her body responded, but her soul was elsewhere. She faked moans expertly, knew exactly what each man liked, delivered perfection every time. But no one touched her heart. She kept the vow she made at 17, no love until 30. After 30, she told herself, "I'll stop. I'll move to a quiet part of Lekki, open my boutique, attend church, meet a widower or divorcee who doesn't care about my past. I'll have children. I'll be respectable." She started preparing early. At 26, she enrolled in online courses, fashion design, business management. She attended redeemed church midweek services when she wasn't traveling. She volunteered anonymously at an orphanage in Aja, buying supplies with her money. She watched her old friends fall, one by one. Vivian got married to a client in 2022, a Lebanese businessman who took her to Beirut. They seemed happy on Instagram, but whispers said he kept her like a pet. Ada had a scare with pregnancy in 2023, aborted quietly, nearly bled to death. Chioma was arrested during a raid at a popular Six club, spent a night in cell before a client bailed her. Yet Ezen sailed through untouched. By 28, her net worth was over 150 million naira. She bought a bigger house, a 4-bedroom duplex in Osapa, London, Lekki, with swimming pool and boys' quarters. She furnished it slowly, dreaming of the day children would run through its halls. She reduced her clients to 5 regulars only, started turning down new ones. The end was in sight. 30 was coming. She could almost taste the freedom. But Lagos nights are long, and old habits die hard. Some evenings, when a handsome new client with charming words and deep pockets appeared, she still said yes. Just one more, she'd tell herself. Just to add to the savings. Just until I'm really ready to stop. The years of hustle had made her rich, but they had also made her someone she barely recognized in quiet moments. The girl who once dreamed of arguing cases in the Supreme Court was gone. In her place stood Zara, beautiful, powerful, wealthy, and deeply, quietly, afraid that when 30 finally came, the life she had built on nights with strangers might not let her go so easily. She touched the red bead on her wrist, the one her grandmother tied years ago, and whispered a prayer into the dark. "Protect me a little longer, just until I'm free." The year Ezen turned 29, 2024, was the year everything began to shift. She woke on her birthday, March 15th, to the soft hum of the air conditioner in her Osapa, London duplex. Sunlight filtered through sheer white curtains, dancing on the marble floor. The house was quiet. Housekeeper off for the day, no clients scheduled, no friends coming over. She had planned it that way. No party, no club, just her. She lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. 29. 1 year away from the deadline she had set for herself all those years ago in the darkness of her Enugu bedroom. No love, no settling until 30. Back then, 30 had seemed ancient. A distant shore where wisdom and safety waited. Now it was tomorrow. She got up eventually, made herself a cup of Lipton with milk, and sat on the balcony overlooking the estate. Lekki traffic hummed below, Okadas weaving, Danfos honking, women with trays of oranges on their heads. The sky was the pale blue of dry season, with harmattan haze still lingering. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to really look back. Not just the money or the houses or the designer bags. The cost. The friends buried or broken. The family she had lost. The parts of herself she had traded away, night after night. She thought of Ngozi's funeral photo, of Sandra's cold face in the morgue, of Amaka's empty Instagram after she fled to Canada, of Ada's tired eyes the last time they spoke. She had started doing runs in Abuja now, chasing bigger politicians, looking 10 years older than her age. And herself? She was still beautiful. Men still paid top price. Her body was still firm, her skin still glowing. But in the mirror that morning, she saw something new. Faint lines at the corners of her eyes. A certain hardness in her smile. A weariness that no facial could erase. She opened her phone and scrolled through old photos, ones she rarely looked at. There she was at 18, in secondary school uniform, graduation day, arms around Ojeki and Ifeananya. At 17, with Chinedu at Polo Park Cinema, both of them laughing over ice cream. At 15, in her father's compound, wearing the Christmas dress he bought her, standing beside him proudly. Tears came suddenly, hot and unexpected. She cried for the girl in those pictures, the one who believed in forever, who thought love was worth everything, who had no idea how much pain one boy's rejection could cause. She cried for the woman she had become, rich, independent, desired, but untouchable in all the ways that mattered. When the tears stopped, something quiet settled in her chest. It was time. Not tomorrow. Not at 30. Now. She started small. First, the clients. She messaged her regulars one by one. Mr. Adeyemi in Abuja. Uncle, thank you for everything these years. I'm stepping back now to focus on my businesses. I wish you all the best. Richard the Brit. A gentle voice note explaining she was retiring. He sent flowers and a generous final gift of £2,000. Chief Nwosu tried to negotiate, offered double rates, a car, even a flat in his name. She refused politely but firmly. Toby the tech guy begged. Zara, you're the only one who understands me. She blocked him after the third call. Within 2 months, her roster was down to 2. Old, reliable men who didn't demand much time. By the end of the year, even those were gone. She stopped going out. No more quillocks. No more sip. No more boat cruises or rooftop parties. Weekends that used to end at 6 a.m. in hotel rooms now ended at 10 p.m. in her living room, watching African magic or reading novels. She sold the Mercedes C-Class, too flashy, too associated with the old life, and bought a simple Honda CR-V in matte gray. She changed her wardrobe slowly. The bodycon dresses and crop tops went to the back of the closet. She bought more Ankara gowns, modest lace for church, jeans and blouses for every day. She started attending church properly. Not just Christmas and Easter. Every Sunday at House on the Rock, the refuge in Lekki. She sat in the middle rows, sang the worship songs with eyes closed, listened to Pastor Paul Adefarison speak about grace and new beginnings. One Wednesday evening, after a powerful message on the prodigal daughter, she stayed back for altar call. Not to give her life anew. She had never stopped believing in God, but to lay down the weight. She knelt at the altar, tears streaming again, and whispered, Lord, I'm tired. I want to come home. A female pastor prayed with her, hands gentle on her shoulders. No questions, no judgment, just prayer. After that, she joined a small midweek Bible study group, mostly single women in their 30s and 40s, professionals, some divorced, some never married. They met in a member's sitting room in Ikate, shared testimonies, ate small chops, prayed for one another. For the first time in years, Ezin had women in her life who didn't know Zara. They knew Ezin, the businesswoman who imported hair and beauty products, who was thinking of opening a boutique, who loved jollof rice and old Sunny Ade songs. She started therapy too, a Christian counselor recommended by one of the Bible study sisters. Sessions every 2 weeks in a quiet office in Victoria Island. She talked about Chinedu for the first time in years, about the vow she made at 17, about how revenge became a career, about the emptiness that money couldn't fill. The counselor listened without shock. You were wounded, she said gently, and you protected yourself the only way you knew how. Now you're ready to heal. Healing was slow. Some nights, old cravings came, memories of excitement, of being wanted, of power. She would scroll through Instagram and see girls half her age living the life she used to, popping champagne in Dubai, and feel a tug. But she resisted. She deleted her old Zara Instagram account, started a new one under her real name, private, only family and new friends. She reached out to her mother more often. Long calls on Sundays after church. Mama Grace never brought up the past, just spoke of the village, the new store, how proud she was that Ezen was doing well. Her brothers warmed slowly. Onika invited her to his son's birthday in Port Harcourt. She went. It was awkward at first, his wife watching her carefully, but the children ran to her, calling Big Auntie, and something loosened in her chest. She still hadn't spoken to her father, but she prayed for him every night. By December 2024, 9 months into her new life, Ezen felt lighter. Not fixed, not perfect, but lighter. She looked in the mirror one evening, wearing a simple green Ankara dress, hair in a neat bun, no makeup, and smiled. A real smile. 30 was coming, and for the first time, she wasn't running toward it out of desperation. She was walking toward it with hope. She touched the red bead on her wrist, still there after all these years, and whispered, "Thank you for bringing me this far." The old life was fading. The new one was just beginning. And whatever came next, love, marriage, children, or simply peace, she was ready to receive it with open, healed hands. A second chance at love. March 2025 arrived with the full force of Lagos dry season, hot, dusty, and unrelenting. Ezen was 30 now, officially past the milestone she had clung to for 13 years. She celebrated quietly, Sunday service at House on the Rock, lunch with her Bible study sisters at a quaint restaurant in Lekki Phase 1, then home to a homemade cake and a glass of non-alcoholic wine on her balcony. No champagne, no club, no men. She felt different, lighter, like someone who had finally stepped out of a long, dark tunnel. Her boutique, Zara's Touch, was under construction in a prime spot on Admiralty Way. She had hired a good contractor, chosen elegant cream and gold interiors, and was waiting for her latest shipment of designer gowns from Istanbul. The hair import business was steady. Her investments were growing. Church was consistent. Therapy was helping. She was even planning a quiet visit to Enugu in April to see her mother and, perhaps, attempt reconciliation with her father. Life was peaceful. Then Obina happened. It was at a wedding in Lekki, a beautiful garden ceremony for the daughter of one of her Bible study sisters, Tolu. The venue was an event center overlooking the lagoon, decorated with white roses and fairy lights. Ezen wore a modest teal lace gown that skimmed her figure without clinging, her natural hair in soft curls, minimal jewelry. She looked elegant, serene, nothing like the old Zara. She was helping Tolu's mother arrange the Asoabi ladies when she noticed him across the canopy. Tall, dark-skinned, neatly trimmed beard, wearing a well-fitted navy blue agbada. He was laughing with a group of men, but his eyes kept drifting toward the women's side. When their gazes finally met, he smiled, a slow, warm smile that reached his eyes. Later, during the reception, he approached her table. "Good evening," he said, voice deep and calm. "I'm Obina Maduk. I couldn't help noticing you earlier. You have such a peaceful presence." Ezen laughed softly, surprised at how easily it came. "Thank you. I'm Ezen Okeke. The bride is like a younger sister to me." They talked. He was 36, a senior software engineer with a fintech company in Lagos, recently transferred back from 2 years in their Abuja office. Originally from Anambra, but grew up in Port Harcourt. Only son, with 3 sisters. Active in his church, Daystar Christian Center. Loved reading, football. He supported Arsenal, unfortunately, and cooking jollof rice that he claimed could win competitions. He didn't flirt aggressively like the men she used to know. No compliments on her body. No suggestive jokes. Just genuine interest. He asked about her business, listened intently when she spoke about the boutique, shared stories about his work and family. When the DJ played a slow song, "Banky W's made for you," he asked politely, "May I have this dance?" On the dance floor, under soft lights, he held her respectfully, one hand on her waist, the other holding her hand. They swayed gently. "You smell nice," he said quietly. She smiled. "Thank you." No pressure. No wandering hands. At the end of the night, he asked for her number. "I'd love to take you out properly, if you don't mind. Maybe dinner next weekend." She hesitated for only a second. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that." Their first date was at Yellow Chili in Victoria Island. Simple Nigerian food, no alcohol for either of them. He didn't drink either. They talked for 4 hours. He told her about growing up with strict parents, losing his father at 20, how faith had carried him through. She shared carefully edited parts of her story, growing up in Enugu, losing touch with her father, building her business from scratch. She didn't mention the years in between. He listened without judgment, asked gentle questions, made her laugh with stories about his sisters trying to matchmake him. By the third date, a walk along Lekki Conservation Center Canopy Bridge followed by ice cream. He held her hand. By the fifth date, dinner he cooked himself at his tasteful 3-bedroom in Ikate, egusi soup, pounded yam, grilled fish. He told her he was praying about her. I don't want to rush anything, he said, sitting beside her on his couch after the meal. But I feel peace when I'm with you. I've been asking God if you're the one he has for me. Ezen's heart raced. No man had ever spoken to her like this. I feel peace with you too, she admitted. He didn't kiss her that night, just held her hand and prayed a short prayer over them both. They took it slow. Dates became regular. Church together on Sundays. They alternated between House on the Rock and Daystar. Midweek Bible study. He joined her sometimes. Long drives on 3rd Mainland Bridge talking about everything. Dreams, fears, childhood memories. He met her mother over video call. Mama Grace cried happy tears. He looks like a good man, my daughter. Hold him tight. He sent her encouragement texts every morning with Bible verses. He respected boundaries. When things got heated after a particularly romantic evening watching the sunset at Elagushi, he pulled back gently. I want to honor God with this, he said. And honor you. 6 months in, he asked her to be his girlfriend officially. They were at Tarkwa Bay, on a quiet part of the beach, just the two of them with a picnic. He got down on one knee, not for marriage, but to ask her to be his. Ezen Adizo Keke, he said, holding a single white rose. Will you be my woman? Will you let me love you, pray with you, build with you? She cried, nodded, said yes. Their relationship deepened. They talked about marriage openly. He wanted a simple traditional wedding in his village, white wedding in Lagos, 3 or 4 children. She wanted the same. He was kind, consistent, intentional. He celebrated her boutique opening in grand style, bought out half the launch guests, posted proudly on his Instagram, with her permission, brought his colleagues and church friends. He prayed with her every night over the phone when they weren't together. He never asked about her past in detail. Once, gently, he said, I know everyone has a story. When you're ready to share more, I'll listen. But I love the woman you are now. And she believed him. For the first time since she was 17, Ezen allowed herself to fall. Deeply, completely. She felt safe. She felt seen. She felt loved, not for her body or beauty or what she could offer in bed, but for her laugh, her mind, her faith, her strength. They had been together 8 months when they finally became intimate. It was after a beautiful day. Church, lunch with his sisters, who adored her, then back to her duplex. They had planned to watch a movie, but one kiss led to another. In her bedroom, with soft worship music playing in the background, they gave themselves to each other. It was tender, slow, full of whispers and prayers and tears. But afterward, as they lay tangled in sheets, Obinna asleep beside her, Ezen stared at the ceiling. Something was missing. Not emotionally. He had been perfect, loving, attentive. But physically, her body, after years of experiences with men who were more endowed, had become accustomed to a certain intensity. Obinna was average, about 7 inches, thick enough, skilled enough for most women. But not for her. Not anymore. She lay there, still wanting, still unsatisfied, a quiet ache building inside. She pushed it down. It's fine, she told herself. It's just the first time. It will get better. Love is more than this. But in the weeks that followed, it didn't get better. Every time they were intimate, beautiful, connected, spiritual, it ended with her pretending, faking the finish, then lying awake afterward craving more. The body she had trained for over a decade in excess now betrayed the heart that wanted to settle. She began to withdraw slightly, making excuses to avoid staying over, saying she was tired, praying harder for contentment. But the dissatisfaction grew, like a crack in a beautiful vase, small at first, but threatening to spread. She loved Obinna. Truly, he was everything she had prayed for, God-fearing, kind, stable, intentional. But her body, shaped by years of choices born from pain, refused to be content with enough. And in the quiet moments, a dangerous thought began to whisper. Maybe I can have both. Love with Obinna, and satisfaction elsewhere. Just once. Just to quiet the craving. Then I'll stop. She hadn't acted on it yet. But the seed was planted. And Ezen, at 30, with love finally within reach, stood at a crossroads she never expected. One path led to the future she had dreamed of since she was 17. The other led back to the shadows she thought she had escaped forever. She touched the red bead on her wrist, fainter now, but still there, and prayed for strength. Because this time, the danger wasn't from men on the streets. It was from within. Chapter 12, The Hidden Problem. The first few times Ezen and Obinna were intimate, she told herself it was normal to feel a little off balance. New relationships always had an adjustment period, didn't they? Bodies needed time to learn each other, rhythms to sync, preferences to reveal themselves. She focused on the good parts, and there were many. Obinna was attentive in a way no man had ever been with her. He looked into her eyes, not just at her body. He whispered her name like a prayer. He held her afterward, tracing lazy circles on her back, talking about their future until she fell asleep. He prayed over her, thanking God for the gift of her. In those moments, she felt cherished, safe, whole. But physically, something was missing. Obinna was gentle, skilled enough, and generous. He always made sure she was comfortable, asked what she liked, took his time. By any reasonable standard, he was a good lover. 7 inches, decent girth, good stamina. Most women would have been more than satisfied. Many would have called it perfect. But Ezen was not most women. Her body had spent over a decade being trained by extremes. Men who were longer, thicker, rougher. Men who stretched her to her limits and beyond. Men whose size alone could push her over the edge without much effort. She had learned to crave intensity, the kind that bordered on overwhelming. Orgasms had become tied to that feeling of being completely filled, almost to the point of discomfort. With Obinna, it was pleasant, warm, loving, but it never quite got her there. The first time, she faked it beautifully. Years of practice made it effortless. She arched her back, gasped his name, clung to him as if shattered. He smiled afterward, kissed her forehead, told her she was beautiful when she let go. She smiled back, heart aching. The second time, she hoped it would be better. Maybe the first was just nerves. But again, she hovered on the edge, wanting more pressure, more depth, more something. She guided his hand, shifted angles, whispered suggestions. He tried eagerly, bless him, but still close, but not quite. By the 4th or 5th time, the pattern was clear. She could reach climax with oral or his fingers. He was patient and learned quickly what made her tremble. But during actual intercourse, the peak stayed just out of reach. She would feel the buildup, the heat, the tension, and then it plateaued. Never crested. Afterward, while he slept peacefully beside her, she lay awake staring at the ceiling fan turning slowly overhead. What is wrong with me? She knew the answer, of course. Nothing was wrong with Obinna. Everything was wrong with her expectations. Expectations her past had carved into her body like a mold she couldn't escape. She started researching quietly, late nights on her phone, incognito tabs, forums where women discussed size and satisfaction. Some said it was mental, that love and emotional connection could retrain the body over time. Others said once you'd experienced certain extremes, average felt lacking forever. A few spoke of therapy, Kegels, positions, toys. One thread made her stomach twist. Women who cheated just for the physical release, then returned to loving partners, living double lives. She closed the browser quickly. No, that would never be me. But the dissatisfaction grew. It began to affect their intimacy outside the bedroom too. She found herself pulling away slightly, suggesting they watch a movie instead of going upstairs, claiming headaches or tiredness more often. Obinna noticed, of course. He was perceptive. One night after dinner at her duplex, as they sat on the couch with a bowl of ice cream between them, he set his spoon down. Ezen, he said gently, talk to me. You've been distant lately, especially when we're close. Did I do something wrong? Her throat tightened. No, she said quickly. Not at all. You're wonderful. He took her hand. Then what is it? You know you can tell me anything. She wanted to. God, how she wanted to pour it all out. The past, the men, the way her body had been rewired. The shame she felt for even thinking this was a problem when everything else was perfect. But how could she? How do you tell the man who prays over you, who sees you as a gift from God, that in bed you keep wishing he were bigger? That your flesh remembers things your spirit wants to forget? She couldn't. Instead, she smiled, squeezed his hand, and said, "It's just stress with the boutique. New orders, staff issues. I'm sorry. I'll be better." He accepted it because he trusted her. But the lie sat heavy in her chest. The distance grew. They still spent time together. Church, dates, long talks. He planned beautiful surprises. A weekend getaway to La Campagne Tropicana, a custom necklace with both their initials, a playlist of worship songs that reminded him of her. And every time, her heart swelled with love. But in bed, the ache remained. She started fantasizing during their moments together, not about other men specifically, but about the sensation she missed. The fullness, the stretch, the overwhelming intensity that used to make her lose control. Afterward, guilt flooded her. How ungrateful could she be? Obinna was everything she had asked God for. Kind, faithful, hardworking, spiritually mature, family-oriented. He treated her like a queen. He saw a future with her, had even started dropping hints about meeting her father to begin marriage talks. And here she was, secretly dissatisfied because of one thing. One physical thing. She tried everything she could think of without confessing. Different positions, her on top, from behind, legs higher. Toys. She bought a discreet vibrator. Used it alone when he wasn't there, hoping to retrain her body. Prayer. Fervent, tearful prayer for contentment, for her desires to align with her values. Nothing worked. The craving stayed. One Sunday after church, during a sermon about flesh versus spirit, she felt convicted to her core. This is the consequence, the pastor's voice echoed in her mind, of years spent feeding the flesh. She went home and wept. Not quiet tears, deep, sobbing release on her bathroom floor. She begged God to fix her, to make her normal, to let her be satisfied with the good man he had sent. But weeks passed, and the problem remained. Hidden, unspoken, growing. She still hadn't acted on the dangerous thoughts that sometimes whispered in quiet moments. But they were getting louder. What if just once I found someone who could give me what my body remembers? Just to quiet it, just to get it out of my system. Then I could come back to Obinna fully, wholehearted, satisfied. The rational part of her screamed that it was madness. That one time would never be enough. That secrecy would poison everything. That if Obinna ever found out, it would destroy him and them. But the other part, the part shaped by years of detachment, of separating body from heart, whispered that maybe it was possible. Maybe love and physical satisfaction didn't have to come from the same person. Maybe she could have both. Just carefully, just temporarily. She hadn't taken the step yet. But every time Obinna reached for her, and she felt that familiar plateau instead of release, the whisper grew stronger. And Ezen, the woman who had survived so much, who had rebuilt herself from ashes, began to fear something new. Not poverty, not disgrace, not even loneliness. She feared that the past she thought she had buried was not dead at all. It was alive, in her body, waiting to claim her future. Chapter 13. The search begins. The thought didn't come all at once. It crept in slowly, like Legos traffic building from a trickle to a standstill. At first, it was just a fleeting idea during one of those restless nights after being with Obinna. She would lie beside him, listening to his steady breathing, her body still humming with unspent energy, and wonder, what if there was a way to fix this without losing him? She pushed it away immediately. Prayer, distraction, cold showers, long runs along Lekiakoyi Link Bridge at dawn. But the idea returned. Stronger, more detailed. What if she found someone, just one person, who could give her body what it remembered? Not a relationship, not emotional entanglement, just physical release. Once or twice. Enough to quiet the craving so she could return to Obinna fully satisfied, fully present, fully his. She told herself it would be controlled, discreet, temporary, like taking medicine for an illness. The illness being her past. She didn't act right away. For weeks, she fought it. She fasted 3 days, seeking breakthrough. She confessed to her therapist, not the full temptation, but the dissatisfaction. The counselor suggested patience, communication, exploring non-penetrative intimacy more, perhaps seeing a sexual health specialist. Ezen nodded, took the advice, tried. But the ache remained. Then came the wedding in October 2025. A big society wedding in Eco Hotel, daughter of a senator marrying a tech billionaire's son. Obinna was invited through work connections, Ezen as his plus one. She wore a stunning gold lace gown that hugged her figure just enough to turn heads without being vulgar. Obinna couldn't keep his eyes off her. The reception was lavish, live band, endless champagne, tables of celebrities and influencers. They danced, laughed, took photos. Obinna introduced her proudly as my woman. But across the hall, she saw him. Tund, tall, built like a professional athlete, broad shoulders, thick arms straining against his tuxedo shirt. She recognized him from Instagram, a popular fitness trainer and model with over 500K followers. Known for his gym in Lekki, his motivational posts, and, among women in certain circles, rumors about his gifts below the belt. Their eyes met while she was at the bar getting Chapman. He smiled, walked over. "Beautiful gown," he said smoothly. "You light up the room." She smiled politely. "Thank you." They talked briefly, harmless. He knew some of Obinna's colleagues, asked how they were enjoying the wedding. But his gaze lingered. Appreciative. Knowing. Later, when Obinna was pulled away for work photos, Tund found her again on the terrace. "I don't mean to be forward," he said, voice low, "but I'd love to train you personally. Private sessions. I have a studio in 6. First one free." He handed her his card. Black, embossed gold. Tund fit. Personal training, body transformation, discretion assured. She took it. That night, in the hotel room the couple had booked for convenience, she and Obinna made love again. Same result. Pleasant. Loving. Incomplete. As he slept, she stared at Tund's card under the bedside lamp. She didn't call him immediately, but she didn't throw the card away either. 2 weeks later, she messaged him on Instagram. Not for training. For coffee. They met at a quiet cafe in Ikoyi, daytime, public, safe. He was charming, confident without arrogance. Talked about fitness, nutrition, his journey from Surrealer boy to celebrity trainer. Asked about her boutique, seemed genuinely interested. Then, casually, "You're stunning, you know that? Your man is lucky." She mentioned Obinna early, set boundaries. He nodded. "I respect that. But if you ever need anything else, I'm here." The implication hung in the air. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. They met twice more. Once for actual training. He was professional, pushed her hard, complimented her form. The second time, drinks at his private studio after hours. That was when it happened. The studio was empty. Mirrors everywhere. Soft R&B playing. He offered her a protein shake, then a massage to loosen tight muscles. One thing led to another. Clothes came off. And there it was. Everything the rumors promised. 9 inches. Thick. Commanding. The kind of size that made her gasp involuntarily. It was intense. Overwhelming. Exactly what her body had been craving. She lost control completely. Moaning, clawing, begging in ways she hadn't since her old life. Multiple peaks. Shaking. Tears. Afterward, lying on the massage table with a towel over her, she felt relieved. Sated. Like a thirst finally quenched. But as the high faded, reality crashed in. Tund was already checking his phone, casual, detached. "That was fire," he said with a grin. "We should do this again." She dressed quickly, left with excuses about an early morning. In her car outside, she cried. Not from joy, from shame, from fear, because it hadn't been enough. One time wasn't going to fix anything. And worse, she now had a new secret, a new lie to carry. She went home, showered 3 times, prayed on her knees until dawn, begged God for forgiveness, swore it would never happen again. But 2 weeks later, when the craving returned, stronger now, because her body remembered even more vividly, she texted Tund again. Just once more, she told herself. To compare, to confirm. But this time, something was different. Tund was good, exceptional, even. But he wasn't perfect. He was rougher than she liked now. Too focused on his own pleasure at times. And emotionally, empty. No connection. No tenderness. Just bodies. She left feeling dirtier than before. Then came the search for someone else. She told herself, maybe Tund just wasn't the right fit. Maybe there's someone better, bigger, gentler, more attentive. She downloaded Tinder again. New account. Fake name. Age lowered to 28. Swiped carefully. Met 2 men. One was a banker from 6. Charming, married, discreet. Promised mind-blowing experiences. He was average. Worse than Obinna in some ways. Quick. Selfish. She left mid-session, claiming a headache. The next was a model, tall, light-skinned, rumored to be gifted. He was, but arrogant, condescending, treated her like a conquest. Afterward, he posted a cryptic Instagram story, a lion emoji, and another one lion-faced. She blocked him immediately. Each encounter left her emptier, more ashamed, more aware that this wasn't solving anything. It was making everything worse. Obina noticed the change in her. She was moodier, more distant, canceled dates last minute. When they were together, she was physically present but emotionally elsewhere. One night in November, after another failed attempt at intimacy where she barely participated, he sat up in bed. "Ezen," he said quietly, "I can't do this anymore. The pretending, the distance. If you don't want me, just say it. I love you, but I won't beg." Tears filled her eyes. "I do want you," she whispered. "More than anything." "Then what's wrong?" His voice cracked. "Talk to me." She almost told him everything. The past, the dissatisfaction, the cheating, but the words stuck in her throat. How could she destroy him like that? Instead, she held him, cried, promised things would change. But they didn't. By December 2025, she was living a double life again. Obina on weekends, church, dates, prayers, gentle love. Secret meetings during the week, hotels, short stays, searching for the elusive, perfect, physical match. None came close to being worth it. And all the while, her heart was breaking. Not from heartbreak this time, but from self-destruction. She had thought she escaped the streets. But the streets, the mindset, the detachment, the hunger, had followed her home. And now, they threatened to take the one good thing she had finally found. Love. Real love. She stood at the mirror one night after another empty encounter, makeup smeared, eyes hollow. "Who are you?" she whispered to her reflection. The golden girl from Enugu was gone. Zara was back. And this time, she wasn't sure she could stop her. Chapter 14, Turning 31. March 15th, 2026. Ezen's 31st birthday. She woke up alone in her Osapa London duplex, the king-sized bed cold and expansive on both sides. The air conditioner hummed softly, but it couldn't drown out the silence that had become her constant companion. No warm body beside her. No good morning text from Obina lighting up her phone. No plans for brunch. No surprise cake. No loving voice singing off-key over FaceTime. Just her. She lay there for a long time, staring at the high ceiling with its recessed lights turned off, the room dim from the heavy blackout curtains she had drawn the night before. 31. The age that was supposed to mark the end of her waiting, the beginning of the settled life she had promised herself at 17. Back then, 30 had felt like salvation, a magical number where all the pain would make sense, where love would finally be safe, where her past would fade into irrelevance. Now 31 felt like failure. She eventually dragged herself out of bed, wrapped in a silk robe, and walked barefoot across the cool marble floors to the kitchen. The housekeeper had the day off. She had insisted on it. She made herself a cup of tea, strong with milk and 2 sugars the way her mother taught her, and carried it to the balcony overlooking the estate. The morning sun was already fierce, bouncing off the swimming pools of neighboring houses, the distant sound of generators rumbling like Lagos's heartbeat. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Messages from her Bible study sisters, her mother, Onika, even Chioma, and Ada with half-hearted happy birthday, babe, texts full of cake emojis. Mama Grace had sent a long voice note praying blessings over her, asking when she would visit Enugu again. Ezen listened to it twice, tears pricking her eyes at the familiar Igbo cadence, the love that never wavered even through everything. She replied to everyone politely. "Thank you. God bless you. Love you too." But she didn't call anyone. She didn't want voices today. She had ended things with Obina 2 months earlier, in January. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no accusations, no tearful confession of her betrayals. Just a quiet Sunday evening at his place after church. She had cooked for him. Okra soup rich with stockfish, pounded yam smooth as silk, the way he liked it. They ate together on his small dining table, talking about the sermon, about work, about nothing important. Then, over bowls of ice cream on the couch, she said the words she had rehearsed in her head for weeks. "Obina, I love you. Truly. But I'm not ready for the kind of future you deserve right now. I need time to work on myself." Alone. He had looked at her for a long moment. Spoon paused halfway to his mouth. eyes searching her face for the truth she was burying deep. "Is there someone else?" he asked quietly. Not angry, just sad. She lied smoothly, practice from another lifetime. "No, it's not that." He didn't believe her. She saw it in the way his shoulders sagged, in the way he set the spoon down untouched. "If that's what you need," he said finally, voice steady even as his eyes glistened, "I'll respect it. But know that I'm praying for you every day. And if God ever brings you back to me, my heart will still be open." He prayed for her one last time that night, hands gently on her shoulders, voice cracking only once when he thanked God for the season they had shared. Then he walked her to her car, kissed her forehead like a brother, and watched her drive away into the Lagos night. She cried the entire way home, great heaving sobs that made her pull over twice on the expressway. Since then, nothing. He unfollowed her on Instagram a week later, not out of pettiness, but for healing. She knew because she checked his page obsessively at first. He posted Bible verses, gym selfies, work achievements, photos with his nieces and nephews. He looked okay, better than she felt. She had hoped breaking up would free her from pretending, free her from hurting him with her secrets and distance, free her to chase the physical satisfaction her body demanded without the weight of guilt over betraying a good man. But freedom tasted like ashes. The year between 30 and 31 had been the darkest of her life. After the search began, after Tund, after the banker, after the model, after the others, she had fallen completely. She told herself it was temporary, just until she found the perfect combination, the size her body craved, the skill to match, the detachment to keep her heart safe. She became systematic, almost clinical. New dating apps, exclusive sugar arrangements on discrete platforms, referrals from old contacts she swore she'd never speak to again. She set strict rules. 9 inches minimum. Verified photos only. Gentle but dominant. No sleepovers. Hotels paid in cash. Never her house, never theirs. Condoms always. Tests every month. No names exchanged beyond first. No follow-up texts. She met 15 men in that year. 15. More than in many of her old, working years combined. A Lebanese hotelier who flew her to Dubai twice. Lavish suites, shopping sprees, marathon sessions that left her sore for days. A professional basketball player visiting from the US. Tall, endowed, athletic stamina that exhausted her. A married oil executive from Port Harcourt. Experienced, generous, whispered filthy things in her ear that made her forget herself. 2 tech founders who competed to outdo each other in gifts. An actor whose face she saw on Nollywood posters afterward. Some delivered exactly what her body wanted, intense, overwhelming pleasure that made her scream, shake, lose track of time. But afterward, nothing. Just emptiness deeper than before. Because now she knew the difference. She knew what it felt like to be held by someone who loved her soul, not just desired her body. To wake up to morning prayers and soft kisses on her forehead. To be seen. With these men, there was no seeing. Only using. And she was using them too. But the high never lasted. The craving always returned, stronger, mocking her. She started comparing them to Obinna in her mind. None had his kindness. None looked at her like she was precious. None prayed. Some were cruel in small ways. Comments about her age, 30 already? You still tight, Shah. About other women they saw, about how she was better than the last one. Others were just vacant, mechanical, efficient, gone before the sheets cooled. Her body got what it wanted. Her heart starved. She lost weight. Her skin dulled. Sleep became shallow, broken by dreams of Obinna's hurt face, of her father's parlor, of Ngozi's funeral. She stopped going to church regularly. Stopped Bible study. Therapy sessions became excuses. I'm traveling. She lied to her mother about a serious relationship that was taking time. Lied to her brothers about being too busy with business. The boutique thrived on autopilot. Good staff, loyal customers. Money piled up, but joy leaked out, drop by drop. On her 31st birthday, she sat on that balcony until the sun climbed high, tea long gone cold. She opened her phone gallery and scrolled back. Photos with Obinna she hadn't deleted. Them at the beach. At church. Him cooking in her kitchen, apron tied comically tight. Her head on his chest during a movie night. She lingered on one. Both of them at Christmas 2025, just before everything fell apart, smiling at the camera in matching red outfits. Happy. Whole. She cried then. Not pretty tears. Ugly, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. She cried for the girl who made that vow at 17. For the woman who thought money and control could heal a broken heart. For the love she had thrown away. For the body that had become her prison. When the crying stopped, she felt hollowed out. She whispered into the empty air, "This was supposed to be my year. The year I settled. The year I won." But she hadn't won. The past had won. The streets had won. The craving had won. And the man who could have been her future was gone. She realized then, on her 31st birthday, alone with her millions and her regrets, that 30 had not been a finish line. It had been a warning she ignored. And now 31 felt like a verdict. She touched the faded red bead on her wrist, her grandmother's juju, the one that had supposedly protected her all those years. It was frayed now, almost falling off. She didn't fix it. She didn't pray. She just sat there as the day burned on, watching the Lagos sky turn from blue to gold to dark, wondering if anything could ever pull her back from the edge she had walked herself to, wondering if some mistakes were too deep to forgive, even by God, even by herself. The golden girl from Enugu was truly gone now, and Ezen wasn't sure who was left in her place. The downward spiral. The year after turning 31, 2026 into 2027, was when Ezen truly fell. It didn't feel like a fall at first. It felt like surrender. Surrender to the craving that had become louder than her conscience, louder than her prayers, louder than the memory of Obina's gentle voice saying, "I'll be here if God brings you back." She stopped fighting. She told herself she was done pretending to be good, done trying to fit into the respectable life that clearly wasn't meant for her. If her body wanted this, then she would give it what it wanted, fully, without limits, without shame. She dove in deeper than ever before. The rules she once had, condoms always, no overnights, no politicians, no Yahoo boys, fell away one by one. She started seeing men in their homes, staying whole weekends, traveling to Abuja, Port Harcourt, even Accra and Dubai on short notice. She reopened old contacts. Ada, now based mostly in Abuja, connected her to high-level clients, senators, ministers, permanent secretaries, men with security details and multiple wives who paid in dollars and kept quiet. Chioma, still hustling in Lagos, introduced her to a new generation of Yahoo boys, flashy, dangerous, generous beyond reason. They rented penthouses in Eco-Atlantic, through private parties with girls flown in from South Africa and Eastern Europe. Ezen became a regular at those parties. Not as Zara from 10 years ago, as Ezen, the mature, classy one who knew exactly what she was doing. Men fought over her, paid premiums, sent cars to pick her up, showered her with gifts. Another car, a Porsche Cayenne this time, a Rolex, a plot of land in Eco-Atlantic, cash drops of 10 million naira just because. She accepted everything. Her account swelled. She opened a third boutique branch in Victoria Island, bought a second house, a vacation home in Ikoyi for privacy, expanded her hair import business to include wigs and frontals. From outside, she was at the peak. Instagram showed the highlights: private jets, five-star hotels, designer bags stacked like trophies, glowing skin and perfect weaves. Comments poured in, "Queen, goals, living the life." But inside, she was rotting. The encounters blurred together. Faces became interchangeable. Bodies became tools. She started drinking more, heavy champagne at parties, cognac afterward to quiet the thoughts. She experimented. Things she had avoided in her early years, multiple men at once, role play that pushed boundaries, locations that weren't safe. She told herself she was in control. But control slipped away night by night. There were close calls. One night in Abuja, a senator's aide got jealous and threatened her with a gun when she tried to leave early. She talked her way out, heart pounding, drove straight to the airport, and flew back to Lagos at 3 a.m. Another time in Dubai, a client overdosed on something in the hotel bathroom. She called the concierge anonymously and left before police arrived. In Lagos, a Yahoo boy she saw regularly got arrested in a big EFCC raid. Her name was in his phone. Officers called her for questioning. She paid a lawyer $2 million to make it disappear. She tested positive for chlamydia once, treated quickly, quietly, but the scare shook her. She gained weight, then lost it dramatically. Her skin broke out from stress and late nights. Her eyes, once bright and sharp, became dull, shadowed. Sleep was rare. When she did sleep, nightmares came. Obina's hurt face, her father's voice sang, "You are no longer my daughter." Ngozi's body in the coffin, Sandra's bruised face in the morgue. She woke sweating, heart racing. She stopped going to church completely, stopped answering her mother's calls for weeks at a time. She saw one of them, Sister Grace, at Acacia City Mall one afternoon. Grace approached hesitantly. "Sister Ezin, we've missed you at fellowship. Are you okay?" Ezin smiled the old Zara smile, bright, empty. "I'm fine, sis. Just very busy. God bless you." She walked away quickly. The loneliness became absolute. No real friends. No family closeness. No faith to anchor her. Just the next fix. The next man who could give her body what it screamed for. But even that began to fail. The highs grew shorter. The crashes deeper. She needed more, rougher, longer, riskier, to feel anything at all. Some nights, after the man left or fell asleep, she sat in hotel bathrooms crying silently, wondering how she had ended up here again. Worse than before. Because this time, she had seen the other side. She had tasted real love. And thrown it away for this. One night in October 2027, after a particularly empty weekend in a Banana Island mansion with two men she barely knew, she drove home at dawn. The streets were quiet, cleaners sweeping gutters, early traders setting up. She stopped at a red light on Amadou Bello Way and looked at herself in the rearview mirror. Hair disheveled, makeup smudged, eyes red from crying in the shower. She didn't recognize the woman staring back. "Who are you?" she whispered. No answer came. The light turned green. She drove home, parked in her compound, and sat in the car for an hour. Phone in hand, she opened her contacts, scrolled to Obina's name, thumb hovering over the call button. She wanted to hear his voice, to say sorry, to beg. But what would she say? "I destroyed us because I couldn't be satisfied with enough. I chose my past over our future." She locked the phone, went inside, poured herself a drink, and cried until there were no tears left. The downward spiral had no bottom in sight. Money couldn't buy her out. Beauty couldn't save her. Power couldn't fill the hole. She was 32 now, rich beyond her teenage dreams, successful by every external measure, and more broken than she had ever been. The girl who once vowed to settle at 30 had become a woman who couldn't settle at all. Not with a man, not with herself, not with God. The streets hadn't just taken her youth. They had taken her soul, and she didn't know if anything could bring it back. Chapter 16, The Bitter Lesson. December 23rd, 2027. 2 days to Christmas. Lagos was alive with the usual end-of-year frenzy. Traffic jammed bumper to bumper on every major road. Markets overflowing with buyers haggling over chicken and rice. Churches rehearsing carols that blasted from speakers day and night. Children in new clothes running through streets decorated with plastic Christmas trees and fairy lights. Ezin sat alone in her Osapa duplex, the house spotless but empty. The Christmas decorations she had paid a decorator to install, gold and red baubles on a tall artificial tree, twinkling lights along the staircase, wreaths on every door, felt mocking in their cheer. The housekeeper had gone home to her family in Ogun State. No guests were coming. No family. No man. She had just returned from another weekend away, this time in Abuja, with a permanent secretary who had paid for first-class tickets and a suite at Transcorp Hilton. He was generous, skilled, exactly the kind of physical distraction her body still demanded. But as always, the high faded before the plane even landed back in Lagos. She showered, changed into soft pajamas, poured herself a glass of red wine, and sat on the living room floor in front of the Christmas tree. The lights blinked red, green, gold, red, green, gold, endless, mechanical. For the first time in months, she let herself think about Chinedu. Really think. Not the angry, bitter thoughts she had carried for years, but the full picture. She opened her phone, something she hadn't done in years, and searched for him on Facebook. It didn't take long. Chinedu Ease. Civil engineer. Abuja. His profile was public enough to see the essentials. Married to a beautiful woman named Ifeoma, a doctor, from the captions. 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, all with his wide smile and her dimples. The oldest was 8, the youngest 2. Family photos everywhere. Christmas 2026 at the village, Easter picnic, children's school plays, vacations in Obudu and Cape Town. He had built a construction firm that won government contracts. They lived in a big house in Maitama. church photos at Dunamis, posts about gratitude, faith, hard work. He looked happy, truly happy, not the flashy, performative happiness of Instagram influencers. Quiet, steady, deep happiness. The kind that comes from a life built slowly, brick by brick, with love and purpose. Ezen scrolled for an hour. Photo after photo. Birthday messages from friends and family calling him best husband, daddy of life, man of God. His wife's posts tagging him. 13 years and still my heartbeat. Their children's school awards, with both parents in the audience clapping. A video of him carrying the youngest on his shoulders at the park, laughing. She watched it 3 times. Then she broke. Not gentle tears. Great, violent sobs that started in her stomach and tore their way out. She dropped the phone, curled into a ball on the rug, and wailed. For the boy who had broken her heart at 17. For the girl she had been. Innocent, trusting, full of dreams. For the woman she had become. Rich, desired, empty. For the love she had found with Obinna and destroyed with her own hands. For the years wasted chasing shadows. For the friends buried or broken. For the family she had lost. For the soul she had sold, piece by piece. She cried until her throat was raw, until her body shook with exhaustion, until there were no tears left, only dry, heaving gasps. Then, in the silence that followed, a voice, small, clear, undeniable, spoke inside her. Prostitution doesn't pay. It only destroys you. She whispered it aloud, tasting the truth like bitter medicine. Prostitution doesn't pay. It only destroys you. She said it again, louder. Prostitution doesn't pay. It only destroys you. And again, until it became a cry. She crawled to her knees, right there under the blinking Christmas lights. For the first time in years, she prayed. Not the polite, rehearsed prayers of church. Not the bargaining prayers of desperate moments. Raw, honest, broken. God, she sobbed, I am lost. I am broken. I have nothing left. I have destroyed everything good you ever gave me. I don't even know if you can still hear me. But if you can, please, help me. Save me. I can't do this anymore. She stayed on the floor for hours. No lightning. No voice from heaven. But something shifted. A quiet. A stillness. Like the storm had finally passed. When she finally stood, legs numb, face swollen, she knew what she had to do. First, she called her mother. Mama Grace picked up on the second ring. Ezen, my daughter? Ah, thank God. Ezen cried again, just hearing her mother's voice. Mummy, I'm sorry. I've been so far from you and from God. I want to come home. For Christmas. Please. Her mother didn't ask questions, just wept and praised God. Come, my daughter. Come home. Your room is waiting. Next, she messaged her therapist, the one she had ghosted 2 years ago. I need help. Urgently. Can we start again? The reply came within minutes. Of course. Emergency session tomorrow if you need. Then, the hardest. She opened her phone contacts. Scrolled to Obinna. Her thumb hovered. She didn't call. Not yet. She wasn't ready. But she typed a message instead. Obinna, I don't expect you to reply. I just need you to know. I'm sorry. For everything. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I destroyed it. I'm getting help now. I pray God blesses you with the woman you truly deserve. Thank you for loving me when I didn't love myself. She hit send before she could delete it. No reply came. But she didn't expect one. It wasn't for him. It was for her. The next weeks were battle. She closed the boutiques temporarily, family emergency. Canceled all trips. Blocked every client, every contact from the old life. Deleted apps. Changed her numbers. Told Ada and Chioma she was done, for real this time. They didn't believe her. She didn't expect them to. She moved out of the duplex, too many memories, and into a small 2-bedroom in Acadia, closer to her therapist. She started intensive counseling 3 times a week. Joined a recovery group for women with similar pasts, anonymously, through church. Started reading her Bible again, slowly, 1 verse at a time. Fasted, prayed, cried, relapsed once. In a moment of weakness, she met an old client. Hated herself afterward. Confessed in therapy. Started again. Christmas 2027 she spent in Enugu. Her mother welcomed her with open arms, no judgment. Her brothers came with their families. Even her father was there. The first night, he didn't speak to her. Just looked at her across the dining table, eyes hard. But on Christmas morning, after Mass, he called her to the backyard. They stood under the same mango tree where she used to play as a child. He was older now, gray hair, slower steps. He looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke, voice rough. "I was wrong," he said, "to throw you out. A father should never abandon his child, no matter what." Tears filled his eyes. "I am sorry, 8 a.m." She fell into his arms, sobbing like the little girl she once was. Forgiveness didn't fix everything. The craving still came, sometimes strong, sometimes whispers. The shame still woke her at night. The loneliness still ached. But slowly, Grace began to work. She sold the luxury cars, kept one simple SUV, gave large chunks of money to orphanages and women's shelters, anonymously, started mentoring young girls privately, warning them about the lies of quick money, easy power, opened a small tailoring school for disadvantaged women, teaching them skills to stand on their own. Years passed. At 35, she met Emmanuel, a widower, 42, with 2 teenage children, a quiet accountant who attended the same church recovery group. He knew parts of her story, didn't flinch. They courted slowly, married quietly in 2032, a small traditional ceremony in Enugu, white wedding with only family and close friends. Their intimacy was never fireworks. It was gentle, steady, warm, and over time, her body learned a new language, the language of love, of trust, of enough. She never had the explosive highs of her past, but she had peace. And peace, she learned, was better. Some nights, she still touched the place on her wrist where the red bead used to be, long gone now. And she whispered thanks. To God, to her mother, to the therapist, to the women who walked with her, to the younger self who survived long enough to be saved. Chinedu remained happily married. She saw him once, years later, at a mutual friend's child's dedication in Abuja. They nodded politely across the hall. No words. No need. His life had gone on. Hers had too, just in a different direction. On quiet evenings in her modest home in Enugu, where she and Emmanuel eventually moved to be near her aging parents, she would sit with her own children, 2 girls, adopted, and tell them parts of her story. Not the details, but the lesson. Money can buy many things, she would say, but it cannot buy peace. And some choices, even when they feel like power, only lead to chains. They would listen, wide-eyed, and she would pray they never had to learn the hard way. The golden girl from Enugu was gone. The street queen Zara was gone. But Ezen, the redeemed one, remained. Scarred, wiser, free, and finally, truly at peace. Because she had learned the bitterest lesson of all. Prostitution doesn't pay. It only destroys you. But grace, stubborn, relentless grace, can rebuild even what seems completely destroyed. And sometimes, if you let it, grace wins. Thanks for watching. Kindly like, share with friends, and subscribe for more amazing stories.